Hello, everybody. I'm Dane Gentry. This is a Standing Back Up podcast. Tonight, I'm here with my special guest, Miss Kristie Crafton. We went to school together when we was kids. Probably hadn't seen her in 30 years, probably at least somewhere around there. It's been that long. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Been long time no see. It's been
Yeah,
a long time.
it has been probably eighth grade or something like that. Probably
Hills,
that's when.
we're getting old, man.
Man, don't remind me. All right, so Kristie, like a bunch of us in this world today, has struggled also. She's had her own struggles, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I want all you women out there to pay attention. Kristie's the first woman I've had on here, and I'm glad that she come on here to do this because there's a lot of women need to hear it too. It's mostly men talking all the time. It's just as bad for the women. So, all right, girl, tell us about how you grew up and what went on.
Well, so I grew up in a small little community out in it's called Burwood. I I was dealt a pretty rough hand of cards. I had a wonderful mom. My mom, she's an angel. She still is today. She never drank, never smoked, don't cuss, good God fearing lady. But I went through some growing up from the time I was 4 to the time I was 10. I was sexually abused, and it was a rough path in my life, and I didn't tell until I was 10. um, I, I guess when you're growing up like that, a lot of people say, like my mom, why didn't you tell me? But as women, we even as kids, and you wouldn't think it as kids, but like we hold guilt, we have shame where they believe us. You know what I mean? The grown-ups are always the ones that tell the truth. That's whether you get in trouble in school or
Yep.
at the neighbor's house. It don't matter what you say you done. You learn that, the grown-ups are the ones that tell the truth. So ended up telling my mom, and we left. What we left, and went on with our lives. But even going on with our lives, like I didn't start out using, I was addicted to pills, that methadone, that was my DOC when I got older. But growing up, like I held so much in. It was different back in the days when we grew up. It wouldn't know this, oh, run to counseling. It wouldn't, talk about your feelings. It wasn't nothing. We just didn't do that. You
Nope.
got past it, you shut up, you grew up, you went on about your life. The whole thing that, and I'm guilty of telling my kids that, don't cry, you tough. You tough.
Yeah.
Don't cry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't not, and crying is a wonderful emotion that really helps us. But like we're all taught growing up not to do that. You know what I
You
mean?
know, talking about that crying thing, I told Beth one time, I said, I wish I could cry because I didn't do it. When I was real little, I was a crybaby. And I remember mom always used to make fun of me. And I was 7, 8 years old. You know what I mean? And I quit doing it. But I'm going to tell you about 3 years ago, I was in the shower and there it came and I couldn't stop. And it shit went on for days, but it was very cleansing. So, yeah. How old was you when you told your mom all that stuff and y'all moved out?
I was 10.
10 years old. Okay, go ahead.
I was 10. So, like I said, we're taught as kids, you're tough. Don't, get up, shake it off. I mean, not by that particular situation, but
Right.
you're taught growing up, you fall down, you get up, you shake it off, you gotta be tough. So, my escape was, and as you know, I got in a lot of trouble for fighting growing up.
You was a fighter. I remember that.
Like, I would fight at the drop of my hat, male, female, and it didn't matter a bit of difference. And what it really was, man, is so much anger built up inside of me
From all that shit as a child.
from all the stuff that happened growing up. So much anger. It wasn't even the people's fault that I fought. They do little of nothing. Some of them, wouldn't, but most of the times it was little of nothing. So I was taking out all my emotions and my feelings on people that really didn't do anything to me.
That's how it is.
Yeah, and it was different then. Like now, I would have probably been locked away in juvenile forever. But back then, you fought it out, you got it out, and you went on with your life. So for a long, long time, that's how I dealt with it. I dealt with all the anger I had inside, and all. The
Yeah.
court was one of my things that was a lot of my frustration I would take out. But still, I didn't want to talk about it. Didn't talk to nobody about it. It just back then, um, girls, especially teenagers, and today, not let me say back then, carry a lot of shame when
Yeah.
are abused. They carry a lot of guilt and shame within themselves,
Yeah.
even though they were kids and or teenagers or whatever they was and didn't deserve it. They still carry that guilt and shame. It's really sad. Like, how are people going to look at me if I tell them? That's what
Yeah.
you. Oh, they're going to look at me like I'm nasty. They're going to look at me like, whatever. So anyway, so I done a lot of fighting growing up, and then my relationships all started having a pattern when I got old enough to have relationships. They were like my first relationship, I was 15 and he was 22, and an outlaw. When I say an outlaw, like
Yeah.
a bad image guy, you know,
Yeah.
like, and it started becoming a pattern of that. Like, you know,
And you was 15 then?
I was 15, almost 16 when I first started dating my first guy, David Wiley. Actually, he's dead and gone. So, but
David died?
yeah, David's
I didn't even know that.
yeah,
Okay.
died not quite a year ago. Um, you know, we won't get in that, but anyway,
Yeah. Hmm.
go. But yeah, so I was 15, he was 22, and when I first started dating him. And then from then on out, man, it was just spiral. Like, the guys that I chose were just like I said, outlaws.
Yeah.
I figured like they had them bad boy images.
Right.
And the older guys, like, I was looking for that figure, that father figure that was never in my life, and that older guy. But at the same time, I was looking for the bad guys to protect me.
Right.
There wasn't nothing to protect me from but my inside feeling, my fear. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
What I'd went through, but I figured if they were the bad guys, they could fight. They were outlaw. I mean, so they had that protection shield over me. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
rough girl myself. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was pretty rough, so it had to be a pretty mean boy to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But then, okay, so I got two kids, and when my son was 18, that's when I got hurt, and I got prescribed some pain meds. Now I was a functioning addict when I first started. I was a function. I got my nurse's license. I was working good. I took care of my kids by myself. I didn't have toys. You know what I'm saying? But you know how that starts. Lord,
Because I remember back in, like, I'm gonna say 2012. All accounts, I thought you had your shit together, and I
yeah,
just heard about you from time to time. I mean, I never see you or anything, but I always, from all accounts, just thinking back on it. Yeah.
I faked it. I faked it really, really well because I always had a house, I always had a car, I always had a job. I took care of my kids by myself, no child support, all that. Because my son, he's the oldest. His dad got murdered when he was only 8. His own dad shot and killed him over $25.
Who was that?
But Lee Davis, I don't know if you knew him,
I
but
know him. I know him. Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Hmm.
he was from Nashville, up on South. But I brought him to Franklin. And he was in Franklin with me for a long, good while, roofing for talking about people. But yeah, his own dad shot and killed him over $25.
I
Um,
don't know him, but I know that story. I remember that story. That's what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
drove to the house, let him lay in the hallway, and aspirated on his own blood right over on Cruising Street, South Side, right by Hardin Place. But anyway, Austin was 8 then. But so, like I said, I raised both my kids with no help, but I had it together. People on the outside would have never knew I had a problem.
Yeah.
And then it progressed. It went from taking Lortabs, and I worked in the medical field, so I could get whatever
Right.
I wanted, how much ever I want. I was at the end, I was getting enough to kill a horse. You know what I mean? Like, and isn't it like, you
And
know,
taking it like it wasn't nothing.
yes, methadone, Xanax bars, Roxy's.
Wonder
Like,
you didn't die. Xanax and methadone, it killed a lot of them.
I am only alive by the wings of my mother's prayers.
That's right.
Well, I'm
Is
still,
your mother still alive?
yes, she is.
Okay. Okay.
So anyway, I went through a couple bad relationships, and then I got into this really bad relationship. where like I was wolfed on like all the time. Black eyes. I'm talking about guns pulled on me, held on me, wouldn't let me leave when I was wanting to leave. Just guns on a coffee table. Like, there you get up. Just stuff like that. Awful, awful. But in my mind, I still somehow, and I know this sounds very sick, but I still somehow felt like I deserved to be treated that way.
Mm.
I don't know, but he loves me.
Mm-hmm.
But he loves me. Because when you're abused as a child, it's usually by somebody that is very close
Yep.
to you.
Yep.
You got a figure, a dad, uncle, grandpa, something like that. Me, it was my stepdad, my ex stepdad. I have a wonderful stepdad now. But anyway, so, so it's usually, but he loves me. But he loves me. He just loves me so much that he don't want me to leave, and that's why he's doing this. You know what I mean? We really do as women get that in our head.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I left. I finally did leave, and I found out he didn't love me at all. 8 years of just total. But I went out and worked every day. I paid the bills. He was on the run from the police, so he
Yeah.
was home. I went out and worked, and I paid all the bills, and that's how we done it. You know what I mean?
For 8 years, you did that.
8 years. I
We're
done
not gonna say his name. I know who you're talking about, but yeah.
definitely got. And this guy's not a little guy.
No, he's not a little guy.
Now,
No, he's not.
this fresh out, looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin type.
Yeah, he's a big boy. When he come home, he's a big boy. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So and he put me. I'd say he put me through the worst. But I got.
Is he in the penitentiary now? Is he out?
No, he's out.
Okay.
I think actually, I don't know. I don't know if he's. I couldn't say if he's screwing off or not, but I can say that the guy that he weighs about probably 160 pounds.
That about right there tells it all. You know what I mean? That pretty well, because I remember he wasn't a big guy when he went into penitentiary, but he come out a big old boy. Yeah. All right. So you went through that for 8 years. You got out of that, but at this time, you're on pills at this time, right?
Oh yeah.
Hell, I guess you had to be on pills to get through the beatings, hell.
By the way,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got out of that, and so I moved on with my life, and I'm still, I've moved to methadone,
Okay.
from Lortabs to Percocets. This is in period of time. Lortabs to Percocets, from Percocets to Roxy's, from Roxy's to methadone.
Yeah.
When I found methadone, I found the love of my life. Okay.
See, I found it at 18 too, but go ahead.
Yes, honey, I found the love of my life. Okay, so what I thought it took at 4 hours that I had to take more of, I could take once a day and it would last me all day long.
I
And
know all about it.
I'd get to what I'd tell my kids was doing. I'm not sleeping, I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Isn't that shit sickening as hell?
Yes, it's so sickening. My little girl would tell my son, Weaver or Wone, her stinking. You know what I mean? Like, see, I think about it now and think about, God, Lee, that was awful.
I used to get so messed up on it and wouldn't think nobody would know. And my brother, one time I was sitting there and I, like you talking about, my head all back. And I remember it's like it's just, he kicked my chair and I come to and I looked at him and he said, "What are you doing?" And I just got out of the penitentiary. Of course, he's going, Jamie's always had his shit together pretty much. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, but I remember the way that felt. But yeah, you'd be so high and you wouldn't think nobody know you was all high.
No, and this is something kind of crazy because I was talking to my son the other day, and any other time I would have been ashamed to admit this, but he said, "Mom, do you know how many times I watched you sleep to make sure you were breathing?" Now,
Man, that's sad.
you know what I mean? He's 28 now, but like he was a teenager then. You know what I mean? Like, do you know how many times I've watched you sleep just to make sure? He just said that to me. You know what I mean? I thought,
Well, I know that broke your heart.
yes.
Yeah.
So I thought, man, you know what I mean? And thought that nobody never knew. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And my teenage son is watching me, just to feeling on my chest to make sure I'm breathing.
That's
Like, we don't
crazy.
think about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That was awful. We think that we're the only one in the addiction, but we're not.
No, we're screwing everybody up too, man.
Everybody that loves us and around us is in it.
Yep.
So my son got to run around. All right, so we're gonna move forward. My son got to run around at my deepest part of my addiction. He got to run around out in Kingfield, and at this point, meth was booming in Kingfield.
The original meth, the back in the shake and bake stuff, I'm guessing, right? Okay.
Yeah, yes. So anyway, he got to run around out there with a few that he shouldn't have been running with, and feeling with some people. And 4 months after he turned 18 years old, 4 months, which, like I said, I at this point am so deep in my addiction that I'm not even seeing the signs of what's
Right.
going on over here. You
Yeah.
know, like my son's running around, doing all this stuff out here, and I'm so screwed up that I'm not paying attention as a mother would. You know what I mean? So I go to work one day, normal day, just like any other day. Go to work. I was working for a doctor, and I get a phone call, and it's my neighbor, and she says, "Kristie, the police just kicked in your door, and they have Austin face first on the concrete." And I was like, "What? Like,
Mm.
what are you talking? Like, he had just turned 18." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Yes, they have him outside." And I said, "For what? What is going on? Like, you got to find out what's going on." And
Yeah.
they run us out of our houses because they said that he was making meth. And I said, "What?" And so
Mm.
I'm screaming and I'm crying. So what had happened was he was messing, I won't say names. He was
Yeah.
messing with this girl, and she was older, and she had gotten some trouble. Okay. She had got caught doing some smoking meth in a parking lot with her 8-month-old baby in the back seat. So, as a lot of them do, she agreed to work as a CI.
I think I know who you're talking about, but go ahead. I think I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she agreed to work as a CI to get him out of trouble. And so that was part of it. She was there with him. She went and picked him up. Actually, he wasn't at home when I left. Hadn't been home for a few days. She went and picked him up and brought him back to my house because they knew I
Yeah.
worked. And she had a key word. And when that key word, she said, they kicked in the door. You know what I mean? And there he was, 4 months over 18. And so when she called me, like I called my mom screaming, told her to go get my daughter from school. My daughter wasn't not quite 8 years old yet. So I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Like, what am I doing? He's 18 years old. He's a baby. He's a baby. And I had so much guilt because of I didn't see the signs. You know what I mean? Like, what? What do you mean he's doing it? Like, why did I miss that? So I went down and told him, I don't know what you found or what it was, but it was all mine. It's mine. It's my
Mm.
house.
Look at Mama go. Ooh-wee.
Yes, it's my house. It's my, it's my everything. He didn't have nothing to do with it.
Right.
Well, since they kicked in the door and caught him in the action in what he was doing, I couldn't take those charges. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So, but anything that was text from the phone that was in,
Mm-hmm.
because he just turned 18, and
Yeah.
anything that was done from that house or on that house was mine. I took it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I went in jail on a $510,000 bond. They had me with like 2 Class A's, 4 Class B's, 2 Class D's, and like 8 misdemeanors is what they had.
Damn.
Yeah, a normal day. Went to work, and I had never. Now back in I one time in my life I tried crank. I don't remember if you remember when crank come through.
I do, but I was in the penitentiary, so I missed all that.
Okay, so when crank come through one time with a good friend of mine, I did try that. It just wasn't my thing. Now I liked Adderall. I took Adderall, so I'm glad I never went. But like I'd never done meth. Well, they done. Okay, so DCS gets involved at this point in time. Because I got Emma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All 18. So they drug test me. Well, I fell for this pill, that pill, this pill, that pill, but I didn't fail for meth.
Right.
I mean, no meth. So,
Yeah.
and they went and had Emma test it to make sure that she wasn't somehow accessible to it, and she was clean. You know, nothing on her skin, nothing. She was clean. So the detectives come in there and told me they was like, or the drug task force. You know how they do.
Yeah.
So tell me, you know, do you do this meth? Do you da da da? You know, and you know, and this that, and other. And I was like, well, first of all, let me ask you why you're asking that. And
Right.
answer, and he said, because you know your drug test had come back. You know, you didn't have meth in your system. I said, so let me ask your second question. Why is it in your business?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our conversation didn't last long till he sent me onto the bag.
Right.
Oh, all right. So all that happened. I got a 10, ended up with a 10-year sentence.
To
All
serve.
to serve. Austin got an 8. I got out on bond, started screwing off again. You know, you have to wait so long until you get a bond reduction. All
Yeah.
happens. So I ended up getting out on bond, went right back down to the methadone clinic. You know what I mean?
What county got you? Was it Williamson County? Okay.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
worst.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Mm.
I was living over in Franklin, living over in Franklin. So, anyway, so I went. All right, so I got out and still was screwing up, still doing methadone, this, that, and another. So now let me explain this. Okay, so I lost my job.
Hmm.
I lost my connections with any doctors, right? So I started going to the methadone clinic. Well, I had a friend, thought he was a friend. Don Jr. called me one day.
Oh God.
He was he was so sick. He needs some pills. Please find me some pills. I'm on bond. Please find me some pills. If you find me some, I'll buy you some.
That's all it took.
Well,
Hmm.
I said, all right, I'll see what I can do. So I felt funny about it. Like I was like, yeah, I shouldn't do this. Shouldn't do this. So I done it. 2 months later, I got a sealed indictment while I was on bond.
Mm. Oh
Still,
Lord. Yeah, that's
so that
they're
stack,
stacking. They're gonna stack it. Yeah.
they give you stacks.
Hmm.
So they put me back in jail. This time I didn't get out. You know what I mean? They pulled the bond I was on. I didn't get back out.
Mm-mm.
So I sat in there waiting on the trial, and I wouldn't plead out to anything on Austin's case until he took what he was going to take.
Right.
If I pled out on mine, it automatically made him guilty.
Right.
So I sit in there just drawing 8 behavior days for like 11 months or better at the second time I went back. So anyway, I ended up getting a 10-year sentence, a 6 and a 4 consecutive, which means then now they run them a straight sentence, but then you done your one and then you started your next.
Yeah.
You done your so I had to do a 4,
Hmm.
then do 30% of a 6 before I could make bond. I mean before I could make parole.
Bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I stayed in there. And I went through this program while I was in prison, a TCOM program. It's therapeutic community, probably one of the best programs I ever went through in my life. And it teaches us, our worth. It's such a good program. If people can find it out here, if there was a TCOM program out here on the streets that people could go to, especially women, man,
Yeah.
you don't know how many lives that would change because it learns you about your guilt and your shame. And I went to this counseling place called SAC,
Hmm.
Sexually Abused Children, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I was 38 when I got
Okay.
38 years old. All my life, I'd never talked about anything ever happened to me. Never talked about my life growing up. Never talked about nothing. All right, when I went to that SAC program, that was the first time I
In
was
all them years.
that it was okay to tell on your disease, to tell on your abuser. That was okay to tell on it all. And until
Yeah.
you told on it, you wasn't gonna get past it.
See, we had T-Con 2 or whatever it's called, but we couldn't get in it. The men are so many more men. We couldn't get in it unless parole mandated it. And,
Uh
and for a long time, it was only in CCA prisons, and then it came to the state. But even if you did get in it for the men, it was some bullshit. It just wasn't.
They were just in there trying to get out of jail then.
There you go. That's all it was. Yeah.
Oh, that's all that was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still using. We had a couple girls in there that got kicked out because they were still, and they try to keep you away from the rest of the prisoners, but
Mm-hmm.
passing all the time. Somebody going out for Medline, what you can get it back in. They try real hard, but there was a few girls. There's few faked it till they made it to the end. You know what I mean? I don't know how they done it, but a lot of them got caught when they were off. But it's just like the men's prison. Actually, let me tell you, I think the women's prison is probably rowdier than the men's prison.
Some of them
are a hot mess.
Some of them. I had a female guard that come to work at the men's prison. Her was pretty cool, and she was telling me about. She said, "Shit, I'd rather work with y'all any days than them mean ass women." Yeah,
I've heard a lot of guards say that because hey, they are fighting and carrying on. But just the story is like you can't, if you've ever been through anything like that, if you've been raped, sexually abused, any of that, like tell the story. You've got to get it out. Like, don't be ashamed. It is not your fault. No is no. And that's whether, you're a kid or you're 45 and you say no. No is no.
Please, everybody that's listening right now, and everybody's going to listen because this is going to go out on all the podcast platforms. Listen to what this woman's saying because you're keeping yourself sick by not doing it. It never happened to me. I had some older women when I was a kid, but men, and we always think that's cool. It's not, man. It's not, because I was a kid. I was 12 the first time it started, and 13 on up to like 16. But it's really not. But you look at it for so long as being cool. You know what I mean? And I had to talk about that shit too. I had to talk about it. It's all part of my getting better too.
Yeah, because it affects men just like it does women. Like you said, they don't think so because they think it's cool. Even girls that do that, like 14, 15 years old, like the 24-year-old I was with. I was 15 years old. That man, he should have never, ever, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I was more than, willing to be in that relationship or whatever, but like I was still a kid.
You're still a kid.
Mm-hmm. Have said, oh no, that's a kid.
Yeah.
And a lot of girls get in that situation, or when an older guy, and they hear, well, she was willing, you know what I mean? Like, she was willing, she laid down. Well, that's because she's still got a kid mind.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it can be persuaded, just like the men, when the older women hit on them when they're, 12, 13, 14 years old. Like, yeah, in their mind, oh, this is some older person wanting me, some older person that, wants my attention, that likes, they don't, they see the women, the men like you.
it happens to young boys with women a lot more than what people think. At least it did in my life, and it did in your. Well, I ain't gonna say it. Somebody else's life we know too. You know what I mean? And so
I'm not scared to tell it. My brother, everybody knows when my brother was in middle school, he had a whole kid by authority figure.
Yes, he did. Hey, look here. One time, me and him and Doug Merle was supposed to be in basketball practice, and we didn't. We went to y'all's house, and y'all lived right there on a duplex, something on the hill. I can't.
Road.
That's right. And we were sitting in there, and we was getting high, smoking. And here she come walking in. But I knew, we all knew what was going on.
That was a secret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had.
Philip could get away with whatever. I mean, he rides to school and everything. A lot of people never talked because we didn't. We minded our own business back then.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Nobody talked about it, but like everybody knew. And my brother probably don't think everybody knew, but everybody knew.
Everybody knew. Yeah, he wasn't the only one that she's messing with either.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, he wasn't the only one. You know what I mean? And she was a married woman, and all that stuff. But anyway, go ahead. We'll get back to what you got going on. But yeah, it was bad, man. I look back on it, and there was other teachers that was there too doing the same thing. One of them was a very, very pretty woman. You know who I'm talking about. Nobody would have known that she done that. But Saturday school, anyway, that's a subject for another day. But yeah, she wasn't the only one. So yeah.
Yeah. But know what? Like I said, back then we called it minding our business.
That's right.
You know, because that's what we were taught.
Yep.
You don't repeat what you see. You know what I mean? You don't repeat what you hear. You know what I mean? That's what we were taught when we were growing up.
And nowadays it's cool to tell her. And but on the other hand, when it comes to that shit, kids need to tell. You know what I mean? Kids need to tell nowadays, and for whatever reason, they'll tell on each other for something else, but they won't tell on for that shit. They won't tell on the adult. But I guess again, it's out of the fear, or like you said, it makes you feel dirty or whatever people are gonna think.
Oh, guilt. Like, I know so many girls that won't won't even talk about it. Won't say. And you know what? They say 8 out of 10 girls.
I think it's higher than that.
I think it's probably not, yeah, 9 to 10 out of 10. Because I know several girls that's, you would have never thought grew up in a good, decent, whatever, and it's and they like, yep, that happened to me when I was little, and it made, you know what I mean? You're like, what? But they won't say it until you start.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's I hope this can, help out some other girls. I hope.
That's the plan. That's what the plan is, and it will. I get messages all the time from people that just on the stuff I'm doing tell me, "Hey, you're helping a lot more people than what you think." And we might not ever hear nobody. Nobody might not ever tell us that's happening, but it's going to because they're going to hear it.
And as far as the whole thing about going to prison, or going in when Austin got those charges is like my addiction didn't get me in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Something else got me in trouble, but it saved my life.
It's
Because
amazing. Yeah.
if that would have never happened, I would probably be dead. Because
Yeah.
I was in a place where I was going to the doctor, getting everything I needed, knew these real close doctors that all I had to do was a phone call away. So like I wouldn't do it. I didn't have to do any dirt
Yeah.
to get them because I got for years, 15 years, I got everything whatever I needed, wanted, you know what I mean? So I didn't have to do any dirt. So I look at like God came in and said, okay, so if she can't be caught this way, then we're going to do it this way. Like he saved my life through my son.
And that's how God works. See, a lot of times it ain't directly; it's indirectly, but He's still working.
Yep,
You know what I mean?
it
And
is.
me and somebody had a conversation this other night, and I don't think I've even published that one yet. And we was talking about that. I said, I think it's harder for a young person and for a woman to get sober, harder because women have more readily accessibility to things, as we know,
Mm-hmm.
because doctors or whatever. And so, yeah, it's a sad thing, man. It really is.
And I never had to do this, but I've got so many friends. The way you said that, it is harder for a woman because, men, not all men, but a lot of men are dogs. And like, if a woman is going through withdrawals, this man, I've got so many friends that done this, or met, they're not friends, people I've met, acquaintances that I know that's done this and like slept with a dope man for dope. You know what I mean? They ain't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's so that easy for a woman. But think about what she's got to hold. She just sold her body to the devil. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Thank God I never had to do that. But like, if it would have kept going, who knows? You can't say what you didn't do.
Hey, hold on. I want somebody sent a message on here. I want to tell them. They said, "Hello, Dane and Beth. This is Kristie Crafton. Everybody, this is not Beth with me tonight. Some
No,
reason don't have your name up there, but I can't answer them for some reason. But there we go. All right, go ahead.
but anyway, so many women have, in addiction sells their souls. That's what I call it. I didn't, but when I talk about it, I say I did not yet because if I would have kept going, then I probably might have been in a place down the road that I would
Yeah,
have. You know what I mean?
yeah, without a doubt, you would have done what everybody else does. Mine started with I had an accident. You probably don't know about that. That's before I met y'all. I had an accident when I was 11. I got hit by a truck walking home from school. And I kept having to have these surgeries. When I was 15, I had a surgery, and the doctor started giving me pills, anything I wanted to, just because my mama had really good insurance. And
Mm.
so this doctor, like if I called him or my mama called him and needed some pills and say he forgot and the drugstore was closed, he would bring samples and meet me and bring them to me and give them to me.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still in practice today. He's not even a doctor. He's a PAC. And he's still, I looked him up the other day just to see if he was still in practice, and he is still in Brentwood, running a pain clinic and a family clinic all in one
I
office.
probably know who you're talking about, honey, because what none of them pain clinics I didn't go to.
I'll tell you who it is. It don't matter. Overfelt was his name. Dr. Overfelt was his name.
Office of Dr. Son.
I think so. Now, back in the day, he was in there with what was the dude over the jail? Moss, Dr. Moss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Moss. God let go get whatever they wanted from Dr. Moss too. Bless his heart. I
Yep.
think he don't practice anymore. I don't know if I don't think he's dead, but
He lost his license. Didn't he lose his license?
he lost his license. He lost his hearing. He lost his license, and I forget what he was doing that lost his license, but he did. He lost his license. But he was.
How long? How long have you been out of the penitentiary now? When was that? When did you get out?
I got out July of 2019. I ain't done pills since September the 19th of 2015. That's when they put me back in jail without a bond. And I got out 2019, and I was still on parole. So now let me tell you what they done to me when I got out of prison. Let me tell you if you ever heard this. Okay, so I got my last Thomas sheet right before I got out. It was about to hit the 3-month mark in July because you know you get your Thomas sheets every 3 months. So it had said the date was 9 of 2022. Okay.
Yeah.
And like you get 60 days for completing the program knocked off of it. And then I would have got my behavioral credits, which would have been 3 months, which would have been 45 more days. So that would have been another 3.5 months knocked off. It would have come back.
Yeah.
So I get out and I go meet my parole officer and this, that, and another. And just out of curiosity, a couple months down the road, I look up my end date on Tennessee full, felony.
Yeah. Yeah.
It had went up to October of 2023.
Instead of going backwards.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote them, Dane. And like, now I mind you, I've done all that time, 6 years locked up. Okay. I got all the behavioral days. I got all the pre-trial days, the 2-for-1s from the county. You know what I mean? My good days from the state. And it was April 9th of 2014 when it happened. From that time to 2019, I was on the street 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? The rest of that time I was locked up. So my date was right in 2022. Well, do you know they made me walk that whole 10 out minus 6 months?
Without a doubt, I do. Yeah, they made me do the same thing.
Hang out with that. And
Look,
I was like, where are my days?
Listen, I've done 11 years and 10 months on a 12-year sentence at 30%.
God, dog.
Every day of it. Every day of it. In the penitentiary.
They
Not on the
come up or say that,
They messed it up, but I messed up too. I got an escape charge when I was in there, and they put me on max. So I wasn't getting no good time. And then I'd get some good time. And I got an assault charge. They took it away from me. Then I got another assault charge. They took it away from me. So yeah, I did all that time because I was an idiot, really. But they had it messed up at first. They had me doing 10 more years than what I was doing. And Teresa Gray, I don't know if you remember her or not, from the county jail.
I know.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart. She's the one that got it fixed, man. I went from having 10 years left to 6 months overnight. And I was a happy cat. But yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I like Teresa. She was over at jail out there for a long, long time.
Yep.
Time. Yeah, she was a good girl. But anyway, yeah, so I got out and I got a company that gave me a good little, gave me a chance at a job, and I went from, just nothing up the totem pole to supervisor now. So make good money. Got a house, new car, do it all by myself. Love it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was a long, hard road. And, I'm able to talk about stuff now, and, I'm able to process stuff, play the tape all the way through, as they
There
say.
you go. Yeah. We can't live in the past, and we do that, especially when we first get sober. Everything that we've done all of a sudden hits us in the face because we got to feel shit now. You get me? Because we ain't feeling nothing when we're out there high. Life's still happening the same way.
Yeah.
It's just we don't feel shit. And so
We
mental health, man. Mental health is huge in recovery also for people. I went through it. I was telling you that the day I was fine. I was doing great, working my business. I woke up one morning and I was a different man than what I was when I went to bed that night.
Mm.
Run my old lady off. I mean, I go on and on. Just was tripping. And from all accounts, you would have thought I was getting high. I lost weight, wouldn't eat, sit in the parking lot all day, but it's mental health. And I went and got,
Fresh,
yeah.
fresh, bad.
Yep. It did. It took over me, man. But I took medicine for about 6 months, I guess, something like that. Went through therapy. That's where I really healed at. And that's what I talk about, working a program and all that stuff. And man, it'll hit you. That should have
I
hit you.
know it's God, though. It always has been. I've been beat with the Bible ever since I was born. You know what I mean? My mama's always been, my whole family's always been in church and good religious people, and so that's where I found my best sobriety on my knees.
Rhonda Barber said to tell you, proud of you, girl. I can't answer y'all for whatever reason. This thing won't let me answer nobody. I see everybody's comments on here. Donna Veach, I don't know if you know Donna or not. That was somebody I grew up. My aunt was with her daddy when she got killed. And you remember Travis Veach? You know Travis?
Yeah, I know Travis.
All
Yeah,
right, it's his sister. That's his sister on here. She's saying stay strong.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I
Yeah,
can't answer y'all. Sorry, but I can see your messages though.
it definitely ain't easy. It's a struggle, and I can't. If I sat here, Dane, even all that time, okay. So when you get locked up and you get sober behind the walls, when you come out, man, it's like, oof. You know what I'm saying? Because in there you feel things, you feel like, you miss your family, you do this. But when you hit the streets, baby, that's when, the tires are on the pavement. Like,
Without a doubt.
and I can't say there's times where I've been like, man, I just want to just stay the hell with all of it. You know what I mean? Times get tough. Times
Yeah.
get hard, you know what I mean? And stressed out about this or that or this. And many times I've said, damn, but you got to play that tape all the way through. And I think about, you know, Emma is my number one motivation. All my kids are my grandkids, and I got custody of my 8-year-old grandson.
Okay.
So my kids are my motivation. Is like I can't leave them again, and I know
No.
it happened because I'm balls to the wall. You know what I mean? As far I talked about fighting a lot when I grew up. I don't. I've always been high tempered, and I still am. But I've got it so much under control. I'm better at it. Like
I remember when we was kids. I remember how you was. Hey, Donna, y'all have you on here sometime. We'll talk about it. Go ahead. I remember you. Didn't you play basketball?
yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. That's been a long time ago, but I remember.
But I fought every time we turn around.
Yeah, I remember that.
Man, I remember getting into it. Miss Boer was just talking not long ago about me and old dude getting into it in her science class. It was awful. But anyway,
Is she still alive? I was wondering about her.
yeah,
Miss,
she
yeah, I'd like to see her.
yeah, she is. That I loved her. She was probably one of my favorite. Her and Mr. Clemens. You remember Mr. Clemens?
Mr. Clint. Yep, history teacher.
Yeah, he was a history teacher, and he also done
Shop class.
top class. Yep.
Yeah, I remember. He was a cool old dude.
Johnson's still alive.
Who? That's who I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Mr. Johnson. Mr.
Yes.
Clemens.
Oh, Mr. Johnson. I think he's still alive.
Mr. Clemens is black-headed. I remember who Mr. Clemens was.
Yeah,
Done shot clap.
around
Mm.
like cafeteria over in the shop area.
Yep, I remember.
Football when they
Yep.
football. Yeah.
Back when Chad Davis died, he
Yep.
got killed. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
Think about it, Dave. We went through some shit when we were kids. We
Yeah, man.
we weren't really bad kids, man. You know what I mean? When we were teenagers and stuff. But like we lived in a time where they let us be kids. Like I said, if we got in fights, we got in fights. You know what I mean? It wouldn't, oh my God, he's bullying me, she's bullying her, so I want to blow up the school. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess that just goes back to the mental health too. You know what I'm saying? But like I think it was seemed to me so much simpler back then.
It was simpler back then. I lived in Franklin in the city first, but when I moved out to Kingfield, that was some of the greatest years of my life.
Yeah.
I lived out there on Boy Scout Road, and I loved it. I think about it all the time. But that's also where my life took a hard. No, it wasn't. I really didn't really start messing up until I moved and started going to Page, and I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I was 16 or 15, and I got a girl pregnant not long after I moved, and it just caused so much shit, and I got sent off and all. But yeah, life was simple back in them days. Kids nowadays, man, You know, the internet, we was talking about that. The internet's good and it's bad. Just imagine if we would have had all that shit when we was kids. You know what I mean? It was.
Why we didn't.
Me too. I'm glad we didn't either.
I'm glad.
So you got sober in the penitentiary and you ain't never went back. And you know how rare that is? That you only went in there one time and all that? That's rare. Most people go back, but it's because of dope. That's why we go back. That's why I went back. I got charges one more time, but I had no new
I
charges.
remember I went in and I come on and caught them other charges.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
Yeah, it's me. The last charges I got was 2012, but I kept having the same thing. I did all of that sentence too, pretty much, almost all. But I'd get out for a little bit. I'd stay out for the longest I was out was about 18 months, I think, and then I finally finished it all. 2020 was the end of it, but yeah, it was a long ride, man. But it was because of dope, and if I would have submitted to God like He wanted me to a long time ago, things would have been different. I was going to visit one time, and the word surrender come to me in my mind, and I was pretty spiritual at this time. I couldn't ever figure out what He was wanting me to do. And Beth would just look at me like I was stupid because I'm not a dumb man, you know what I mean? And she's like, "Why can't you understand, you know, what he's telling you to do?" And I finally did it, and life's different. And this whole podcast thing, a year ago, 2 years ago, there's no way in hell I would have done this. I was too shy, you know, all these different things. But I felt that that's what God wanted me to do. He wants.
Wonderful.
It is, man, and it's going to help a lot of people, and that's what it's all about. You know, these sober living homes.
One life, man. That's all that matters.
And I think I already have. I get messages all the time, you know, and I know people that we grew up with and went to school with who are still struggling. And I know, you know, I don't see them, I don't talk to them, but I know. I mean, it's not hard to tell the signs. And that's what I'm hoping a lot of people will see too. You know, I'm not going to hang out with people just because I'm not, but I want y'all to know I love you and I want y'all to get sober. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yes. I don't really hang out with anybody. I work from home. You know what I mean? I have my grandson. So I moved away from my old, playground, and I just, I know what I got to do to make it. You know what I mean? I know what I got to do to make it out here.
That's right. What's the best advice you can give to a woman who's struggling with an addiction?
Man, first of all, you got to figure out and admit to yourself you got the problem. I think that's a lot of, because like that was a lot of my deal when I was addicted. Like I was addicted to pain pills. I didn't have a problem. The doctor gave them to me.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing what the doctor said. I ain't got a problem, but take them away from me, see what happens.
Oh yeah, I already know you're gonna do whatever you got to do to get them. I
So
know.
you gotta really you gotta really figure, you gotta admit that you got the problem. That's the first step. But then, you gotta dig. You gotta find out what the core issue is. Because behind every addict, there's a core issue.
Without a doubt.
Behind every addict is a core issue. Whether, it's abuse, it's, 9 times out of 10 it's abuse. You know what I mean? Like literally, physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's something like that, or a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like my son, like his daddy got murdered by his granddaddy. You know what I'm saying? And like just craziness, and so, but you gotta tell on it. You gotta tell on your disease, and you gotta tell on you gotta talk about your core issue. You gotta dig deep and get
How's
it.
your son? How's your son doing?
He's wild as hell.
I know him now. I know who he is now. I know him. I know him now. I know
I
who he
just a
is.
hot mess.
Is David his daddy?
No, Lee.
Oh, well, I might not. I might not know him. Yeah, I
No,
might
I
not.
think it's by David. Thank God. Lee Austin's daddy got killed. His
That's right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
now, you might know Emma's daddy, Raymond McNeil.
Oh yeah, I know Dookie.
Dookie.
That's right. I remember y'all being together. That's right. I remember that now.
Now that was a wild ride.
Yeah. How's he doing?
He's in prison.
Is he? It seemed like I knew that. I talked to him. It's been a few years ago. But
Yeah.
only time I was ever around him was in jail. To be honest, but
He probably come through while he was there, I'm sure.
without a doubt.
We were married. Well, let's see. We were married for almost 13 years.
I believe him, and Philip was all in jail together. I think at one time, I
Yeah,
believe.
was. Yeah.
I remember that now. I remember him talking to you on the phone. One of them, or one. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I was coming to visit, pregnant with him, or probably.
Yeah.
Let's see, did Philip go when he was pregnant with him? Seems like yep, he did. It was 2006.
No, this was in like 2012.
Okay. Well,
11, end of 11, beginning of 12, somewhere around there. Philip wasn't in there long, I don't think. Or maybe he was. He got moved or something. I don't remember, but I remember him being in there.
yeah.
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 What do you think about the NA and AA program and stuff like that?
If you ain't got God, ain't nothing gonna work.
There you go. That's the key word, and that's what people need to understand. That's one thing that I don't like about the program is when they say your higher power or whatever.
Always the higher
Come on, man. You know what I mean?
that can be a doorknob. You better get on them knees.
You better get on them knees. Listen, I tried everything. I tried methadone. I tried Suboxone. I tried abstinence. I tried listening to the old lady. I tried everything but God. But when I finally hit them knees and cried out and said, "Here I am. Take this from me." The obsession for me is gone. I don't have it. Thank God. I haven't had it in a long time.
Wonderful.
I try to make sure every day I do the same things that I do that I've been doing for years now. I do the same thing every morning. I get up and do the same things. I'll never stop doing that. I like the program. I like the camaraderie of it and the people in it. But that's the one thing I don't like is that they talk about this higher power because, and even in there, you can see it whenever you'll say something about God or somebody will say something about God and they'll say, "I hope I don't offend anybody." Man, I hope I do offend you if you don't like God. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. That's
I
how it is.
say when you want to know about him.
That's right. That's right.
I think
Well,
I think without that you ain't gonna. I mean, you got to have God. God is you got to. I was in prison. I was in prison and I was pretty. I was going up for parole the first time, and I was so upset. I'll never forget it. And I done read the Bible from front to back and da 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 da, and so I was sitting in my cell one day and I was praying, and all of a sudden, just as clear as you and me talking, I heard something say, "Be still."
that's right.
And I told my Sally, I said, "I'm not making parole this time." She's like, "What? Like, don't
Mhm.
talk like that." "Yes, you are." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'm making it on God's time. He just told me to be still." And she's like, "You're crazy." Well, I went up, I didn't make it. They told me to, when I complete the program, to come back and,
Yeah,
I would make it. And I wasn't even upset because I heard him just as plain as day. And I knew
you
it
knew.
was time and not my time.
And so
But,
that's when you created. That's what I mean. Completed the program, right?
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
that's what saved your life. So God, see, that's the thing. People say, "Well, I'm praying all the time. God's not answering my prayers." He's probably saving your life, and we don't even realize that. Because
yep,
what we want, our mind can't even fathom how God thinks. You know what I mean? And so we think we got all the answers. At least I always thought I did. I thought I was the smartest SOB in the world.
yep, yep.
End of the day, I was a dumbass because I wasn't good at making decisions because I didn't let God do it. But isn't that funny how that happens? But He gave you that peace beforehand.
Yeah, he did because I think he thought, I don't know. Maybe I would have screwed up if I hadn't, he hadn't have told me that. Maybe, you know what I mean? I would have probably been really upset if I'd went in there and just not made, you know what I mean? But I knew in that moment, and I was just as calm about it, but I knew in that moment I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, and that's Him. He provided you that comfort for you in there because when we're in there, people may not. If you ain't never been in there, it goes like this: you go in there and you look years away until you can go up for parole. You know what I mean? And so you count that shit down, and as you get closer, it's all you think about.
Yeah,
Man, am I going to make it? Is this going to happen? Same thing with a court date when you're in jail and you're going, they're going to do this or they're going to do that. Man, I hated that shit. And it was just like, but for me, every time I'd go back, I'd have a violation of parole. So I knew I was just going back. But still, that it's,
unknown.
man, it's a torture. And for somebody to go and do it time and time again, there has to be something. That's what really clicked in my mind. Man, I got something else going on here. It ain't just the drugs. You
Yep,
know, I didn't know what it was. Mine was really shame and guilt, really, is what had me. And that's what finally smacked me in the face because, you
yep.
know, I've done a lot of shit, man, and I did. And
Women, and they don't realize it, man. I just, you know, you got to just don't give up. Just keep trying, keep trying. It ain't about the falling. Like a lot of people will get clean and then they'll have a setback and they just say screw it because they had a setback. Don't give up. Go back. Go
That's
back.
right.
No, it ain't
That's right.
about the fall. It's about how you get back up.
Yep. That's right.
Up and keep moving, give it back to God, and keep going until you finally get it right. I don't care if you fall 10 times. Don't give up.
Lord knows I did. I failed a bunch. You know what I mean? And I finally got it right. But dope ain't never been no good, girl. But it really ain't no good now.
It ain't
I mean,
left and right now.
and people, it's killing people in everything. You can go buy some weed, and if you ain't no opiate addict, if fentanyl hits your body at all, you're gonna be dead. Because
Yep.
them some bitches that you think is your friend sitting there with you, they're gonna leave you dead and throw you out of the car on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not your friends, man. And addiction, you can't make friends in addiction that's gonna last a lifetime.
Uh-huh.
Or relationships, I've been to a lot of treatment centers, and I'd see these dudes and these girls get together in treatment centers. I'm thinking,
Too
what
bad.
the
Thank you.
what the hell you got to offer each other? Because both of you going to do this exactly.
Addiction.
That's it. Well,
That's
listen,
exact addiction.
I want to thank you. We've been going almost an hour. Thank you for coming on here.
And I sure, had a good time, man. It's good to talk about it every once in a while.
It is, and it's good to see you. And I'm glad to know that you're doing good. Yeah, man,
Yep.
it's.
Keep it up.
Oh, you ain't gotta worry about that. I'm going to the top. I ain't gonna stop.
If you anybody out there needs to talk, anybody out there, has any questions, if I can help anybody in any way, just hit me up in my messenger.
Yeah, we're all on Messenger. Me too. Candy Blackwell said she's proud of us. I don't know if you know Candy. It's a friend of mine on Facebook. I'm not sure I know her, but I respond to her messages or her
All right.
post she puts on there. Thank you again. Thank everybody that's come on here and left some messages. Sorry, y'all, I can't answer them on there. I don't know. I got to fix something on here. It won't let me do it. Something about I ain't got something right, but I'll figure. I'm not a technical guy, but I'll figure this shit out.
Right.
Thank you, Kristie. And you got my stuff. If you need anything, I'll get you on again. And Candy Glenn. Okay, that's who that is. Okay.
Just let me know, and just let me know ahead of time, and I'll be willing.
I will. And I'm gonna tell you, we got we're opening up another house tomorrow, but we're gonna have beds in it ready for Tuesday for men. But we're trying to get some for women too. But you need to do that. You'd be good at it.
And I've been thinking real serious about it.
You need to do it. You need to step out on that limb and do it, girl. So listen, I mean, it's not about the money. It's not about that. It's about helping people. And you'll fill the beds. There's so many women out there, and the number of it used to be more men. Man, it's running a close race now between them both, and so they need it just as bad. And there's more homes for men than it is women.
I'll have to get with you on that, on how, what are the, the steps you got to take as far as like,
it's really pretty simple. It depends on if you want to involve the parole and probation. That gets a little bit different just because it's the state, but you don't have to do that unless you want to. Me personally, I'm not doing that. We're not doing.
Are you planning on doing it in the end?
Yes, eventually we are, but we want to get it up and going first, real good first. You know what I mean? And then we're going to do that. We got one house, but no sooner than moved in, the pipes were busted in it, and they didn't tell us this, and then they acted as if they wasn't going to pay for it. So we hurry up and got another one that we're getting tomorrow. We're moving in it tomorrow. I'm going to move in there. It's a nice one too. It's a real nice one. So I'm going to be the house manager there.
You're gonna live there?
I'm gonna live there, yeah, myself, and do it. It's good for me too, you know what I mean? And
right.
And so it's real nice. It's close to downtown Nashville. It's a townhome and stuff, so it's a real nice one for people. Because
I'll talk to you about it later.
We will.
Oh, and
all right,
like what I need to do, because I really am thinking about it seriously.
If you can get a place, it's pretty easy, really, to do it. It's not hard at all. You don't really. All you got to do is.
You don't got to have paperwork. You don't got to go up and sign up for nothing or nothing.
Nope. You just got to make sure you got your fire alarms and stuff like that right.
And whoever that you get it from, I guess, has got to agree that you got, that's okay.
Yeah. To get accredited is just only thing you need to get accredited is let the fire department come in and check your fire smoke detectors and your extinguishers and all that stuff like that. That's it. That's all you got to do.
I do want to get back on once when we get time, because I want to talk to you about trading a drug for a drug.
All right, we do it. We'll do it again.
Do that. I want to do that conversation, and
I'm gonna start doing them. I'm gonna start doing them every night. I used to do them every night on audio. I'm gonna start doing them on video too. At least, well, I ain't gonna say every night, 3 or 4 times a week anyway.
All right.
Until I get so busy I can't do it. But that's what we'll do. Thank you, girl, and thank everybody.
About that, because there's a lot of that goes on, and people think they're sober.
That's right. You're right about that. All right, girl. We'll see you. Thank you again. Good to see you. See you.